Around this time last year, I started saying, I think Tennessee's going to win the East next year, and I've never wavered on it. I think the Tennessee Volunteers will win the SEC East this year and win it with a 10-2 record, which might have them in college football playoff contention. A lot of people look at Tennessee and think, boy, if they were to do that, it would be a cute little story. No, it wouldn't be a cute story. It would be a story of a team that's just that good. And you look up and down this roster, I think people are still under the impression that there's this wide gap talent-wise between Georgia and Tennessee. And I don't see it. I don't see it at all.
I think they're going to be good enough defensively. And we talk about the depth of Tennessee. The depth of LSU at wide receiver and in secondary is staggering. And when I bring in Leonard Fournette into the mix, I think he is the most dynamic running back in the nation. You have to be efficient at the quarterback position. And I just don't believe that Chad Kelly coming in or whomever their quarterback is at the beginning or towards the end of the season will have that efficient type season that Bo Wallace had. So I have Ole Miss finishing 5th.
I think the Ole Miss Rebels will be one of the 25 best teams in the country this year. I think the Ole Miss Rebels will be the 7th best team in the SEC West this year. Got them finishing dead last at 7-5. I have Alabama at 10-2, winning the SEC West, and Arkansas, a close number 2, the only difference being the head-to-head win, Alabama over Arkansas at 9-3. I'll pick A&M over Auburn in a head-to-head spot. And you got your helmet schedule out right there. When you look at Auburn and the way that stacks up, they've got to play them after a very, very rough revenge-type game against Ole Miss. Got to go out to A&M. We've talked a lot about Alabama defensively, how they may be a lot more equipped to transition week to week, playing Arkansas one week, put that heavy package on the field, get a lot of those rabbit-type guys out there for the next week against A&M. I don't see Auburn, or for that matter, really many defenses outside of Alabama equipped to do that. Let's turn our attention to the SEC East. How does it shake out this year?
Well, Josh, I have Tennessee winning. I picked them at SEC Media Days back in July. I just feel like, top to bottom, they have the most talented roster in the division. It may be a little young, but what kind of caused me to pick Tennessee over Georgia is that their quarterback situation is pretty good. Josh Dobbs should be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC this coming season. I think their defensive line, though young, will be very good.
You said top to bottom, you think Tennessee's roster is the best in the SEC East. Does that mean depth-wise you like Tennessee over Georgia, even in that category?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a matter, Josh, of, Tennessee necessarily having more experience than Georgia top to bottom, because I don't think that's true. But as far as raw talent goes, I think Georgia's a year away. Tennessee's recruited back to back to back very well. I think if you just go with raw talent, Tennessee's got more than the dogs at this point.
The SEC West, by all accounts, will be an absolute bloodbath this year. How do you see it shaking out?
Well, I have Auburn winning. I think that Auburn's offense will be one of the best in the country. Jeremy Johnson, although he's not a proven starter, he has enough talent to get it done. Duke Williams, who knows what will happen to him, but he's an X factor in the passing game. And then you have 3 really good running backs with Barber, Jovan Robinson, who we've talked about, and, of course, Rock Thomas. Auburn's offensive line, I think, is underrated. I think it's very good with that scheme. Alabama will have the best front 7 in college football. They just do not have a quarterback. They do not have the number 1 receiver, which is something that Lane Kiffin has needed every time he's coordinated an explosive offense. We don't know who the Amari Cooper or the Robert Woods or the Marquise Lee is going to be. So I have them 2nd. I have Ole Miss 3rd. Going on down, Arkansas 4th. I think that Texas A&M, LSU, Mississippi State 5th, 6th, and 7th.
In the SEC, outside of the SEC, if I were to ask you, project that 4-team field right now, which teams are you feeling?
Right now, I'm going to go with Ohio State. I'll go with TCU because I think that they are going to win the Big 12. They're one of the few schools out there that plays defense. And then I'm going to say Alabama and Auburn both will make it to the college football playoff.
Sure. I couldn't help but notice you left the ACC on the curb, which is fine by everyone associated with this program. But you left the Pac-12 on the curb as well. How do you paint a scenario there? How does this play out where no Pac-12 team makes it in?
But if I were to pick a Pac-12 team right now, I would pick Arizona State. I think they're the best team top to bottom on both sides of the ball. It's just brutal in that conference. And I think that, whereas in the SEC, we say it's brutal. Well, I think that Alabama and Auburn are both good enough to where they can get through with 1 loss each. I think out there, is USC going to be able to go and win a road game in Tempe? What's going to happen with Arizona? Are they going to surprise somebody? Oregon has quarterback issues. Is the transfer going to be able to be ready in time? Because the guy that's replacing Marcus Mariota that's already on the roster is not very good. But I think Alabama and Auburn both have the potential, to get to where they only have 1 or 0 losses heading into the Iron Bowl. And if that's the case, those two teams are going to the playoffs over the ACC and the Pac-12.
Selfishly, I very much hope you're right, because it would be like Christmas for an entire month and a half around here. But I'll tell you this, and it's been said before, and I'll continue to say it. What Marky Mark was to the Funky Bunch, he is to 247 Sports. J.C. Shurburtt, check out his work, 247sports.com. And by the way, the next time we talk to you, it'll be game week, my friend. Take care.
Thanks, man.
J.C. Shurburtt, Auburn and Alabama, both in the playoff. Now, this is a scenario that I view as virtually impossible, not because the teams will be good enough, but because I guess I would have to be proven wrong. And I was last year with this committee, so maybe it'll happen again. I would have to see them look an ACC champ in the eye and look a Pac-12 champ in the eye and look at the SEC and say, you guys stay out, we're bringing 2 of you on board. I'd love it. I'd have to see it, though.
See, I'm not discounting them looking them in the eye and saying you're not coming, but if their record is a 1-loss
that's what
ACC
I mean. Yeah, that's
champ
what I mean.
or a 1-loss Pac-12 champ, because to me, I wouldn't say that an SEC team is more deserving. Let's say Alabama loses 1 or 2 games and USC loses 1 or 2 games, but they win the Pac-12. They've gone through a bad, I mean, bad isn't great, division in that Pac-12 South. I wouldn't give Alabama that jump over USC, because I think in this season you can say the Pac-12 has just as much strength as the SEC West in terms of South to West with the teams from top to bottom.